the air war in World War II. The airplane climbing now through the vertical is that airplane. The Mustang was named by the Royal Air Force, who actually ordered this airplane first, before the United States Army Air Force. Young men, some of them still in their teens, graduated from flying the North American Texan and moved on to the Mustang. In total, some 15,000 Mustangs were built, and about 1% of that production run remains flyable today. And the one that's overhead, named Quicksilver, never saw combat in World War II, but is the product of a 16-year restoration project started by a guy named Yoak, a gentleman who had worked in Hollywood as a pilot, as a metal fabricator, and took on the job of bringing this airplane that was shy of many, many parts and turning it into a better than factory new Mustang. He flew the airplane, Bill did. He also taught his son how to fly it, Scott Scooter Yoak. And as we look at an airplane like this, which was one of the highest performance fighters in all of World War II, and think of the talent and skill it took to fly, and think that Scooter learned how to fly this airplane, got checked out in a Mustang when he was just 20 years old. That seems astounding, but in fact, it was the average age of a Mustang pilot in World War II. Powered by a Rolls-Royce designed Merlin V12 liquid-cooled engine, different models of which generated between 1,400 and 1,700 horsepower, depending on the model and whose books you're reading. It gave it a top speed of over 400 miles per hour. And when fitted with a very, very unique papier-mâché type drop tank, or two of them I should say, it extended the range of the Mustangs so that it could escort the heavy bombers all the way to their targets and back, protecting the big friends, the heavy bombers, from the onslaught of the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force fighters, the Messerschmitt BF-109s and the Focke-Wulf FW-190. Many of the parts and skins were handmade by Scott's dad, Bill, from scratch and to the original factory blueprint. The restoration completed in 2007. Scott took the controls and has been flying it ever since. Performing now a very difficult 16-point hesitation roll, stopping the aircraft every 22.5 degrees of rotation. Unfortunately, we lost Bill Yoak a few years ago to cancer. But Scott flies it not in honor of his dad, but as a custodian, flying a piece of living history honoring the men who flew them in World War II. Bill Yoak will be missed, but he'll be remembered as a skilled pilot and craftsman who always shared his talents and knowledge with others. He opened the cockpit of Quicksilver to anyone to climb in and enjoy. Blue skies and tailwinds, Bill Yoak. And he does a salute to his dad. The P-51 Quicksilver is a celebration of our nation's armed forces. Every aspect of the pink represents those who have served and those who gave their lives in the ultimate sacrifice. The black cape covering the front of the aircraft represents the veil of protection that our armed forces give us. That veil is one of the reasons why we have what we have today. Freedom. The cape extends to the back of the canopy. It spreads out and divides into feathers, symbolizing the eagle that has flown with every aviator since the birth of aviation in 1903. The black paint has tiny sparkling stars in it. Each sparkle represents an American veteran that served our great country, the unsung stars in our lives. These veterans are the glimmering star in a mother's eye, a wife or husband's heart, a son or daughter's hope for the future. The silver ring behind the spinner represents the shining halo of the guardian angel who guides service personnel, having given the ultimate sacrifice to their final resting place. Look into it. You see for whom our veterans fall. Scott's dad, Bill, did all of the metal work. The remanufactured parts are handmade. Unlike the hurried war effort parts, these are made with the skill and care of a master craftsman and have paid the utmost attention to detail necessary to restore this Mustang to a condition better than factory new. The silver bird quickly streaks across the sky. Let us not forget those who serve in sacrifice and gave their all. Attention to the next pass of the Mustang. Scott will do a very, very difficult 5-point hesitation roll to honor each branch of our military service. The Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, the Air Force, and the Coast Guard. For 2 photo passes. I'm going to fade the sound system down so you can get a good view with your cameras and your eyes and get a good feeling of the sound of this engine. Unlike the sound of most of the engines on aircraft of World War II, which were radial piston engines and air-cooled, this one had a radiator, liquid-cooled, designed by Rolls-Royce, the Merlin, but built in great numbers by the Packard Motor Car Company of Detroit, Michigan. My photo pass of Quicksilver. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in a round of applause Mr. Yoak and the Mustang Quicksilver. In just a couple of moments, we're going to be bringing in one of the most unbeautiful airplanes ever to take to the sky. Designed in Northern Ireland, obviously over a whole lot of Guinness, the short Skyvan looks like a bumblebee. It doesn't look like it should be able to fly at all. Yet it does, and we'll have members of Skydive Suffolk on board and the United States Army Special Operations Command Parachute Team, the Black Daggers. As Scott Yoak rolls out in that Mustang, I want you to look at something underneath, because it's kind of interesting how technology goes generational. The original design of the Mustang had a radiator scoop underneath that was butted right up against the fuselage, and there were cooling problems because of turbulent airflow going into the radiator.